from the Washington, D.C. area. It's the Inside Scoop, all the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Welcome to Inside Scoop, Virginia. I'm Bettina Lawton, and I'm your host. And tonight we are doing a show about towns. And for people who live in Fairfax County, they know there's the big county. And then there's like Fairfax City, and it's kind of in the middle. And then we have a series of towns. And we are very fortunate tonight to have the mayors of two of our towns, along with the vice mayor of Vienna and one of the senior councilwomen from the Herndon Town Council. And we're going to do it alphabetically. We don't want to show any favoritism here. So we're starting with Herndon. And we're going to talk with them about what's going on out in their town. It was founded in 1858. It's 4.2 square miles, and it has about 24,000 people in it. It's 50% white, 18% Asian, and about 10% black, at least from the statistics that I saw, so it's a little diverse community. Let me tell you who we have. We have Mayor Lisa Merkel. She was sworn in for her second term on June 29th. She's been a resident of Herndon since 2002 and a resident of Northern Virginia since 1996, which of course is long term for many people in this area. She was vice mayor for a term before she became mayor. As mayor, she serves on the interjurisdictional committee, which involves Loudoun County, which is not too far down the road from Herndon, and Fairfax County. She represents the town as the vice chair of the Northern Virginia Regional Commission. She is a member of the Nova Region Foundation and the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority Planning Commission Advisory Committee. She is also a member of the Council for the Arts in Herndon, the Herndon Historical Society, the Sisters Cities International of the Herndon area, and the Herndon Home Tour Committee. Now, prior to becoming involved in politics, she was a classroom teacher and a reading specialist, and her classroom strategies have been featured in two professional books, one called Shared Reading for Today's Classroom and the other one called Catching Readers Before They Fail. And she holds a BS in Education from Auburn University and an MS in Curriculum. So thank you for joining me tonight, Mayor Merkel.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to introduce Councilwoman Sheila Olem. She is having her third term. She was also sworn in on June 29th, and she's been a resident of Herndon since 1990. She chairs the town's Pedestrian and Bicycle Committee, its Interview Committee. She serves on the Joint Communications Committee between the Council and the Planning Commission. She is also on the Virginia Municipal League's Interjurisdictional Committee, the Phase 2 Metro District Commission, the Legislative Committee, and is chair of the Environmental Quality Committee. So enormous amounts of responsibilities. She is also on the board of directors of the Council for the Arts of Herndon and the Sister Cities International of the Herndon area. She is an independent sales association for AFLAC, that is of course the duck, and she holds a BS in Education from the University of North Alabama and a master's degree in health administration from the University of Memphis. So we have two Southern belles on the show to start us off. So welcome, Sheila, to the show as well.
Thank you very much.
You are becoming a regular.
I'm telling you.
I want to talk about Herndon itself, because a couple of years ago, and a lot of people unfortunately nationally certainly know Herndon as a place where you had Minutemen come in and there was all this anti-immigrant stuff, and it was not good. It was really frankly very embarrassing. But lately, Herndon's been winning all kinds of awards. I know in 2013 you won like the Best Place to Raise Kids award, and you're the Best Place to Live in 2011, which seems like this huge turnaround. So is it a real turnaround, or is it really Herndon, the old Herndon, new Herndon? I understand that you did a gay pride month or something recently, which really seems kind of interesting and far out there relative to what it used to be known for.
Well, you know, Herndon is, I like to say it's a small town with a worldview. I mean, you mentioned in your opening comments that we have a hugely diverse community. Of 35% of our residents are of Latin American descent. And so I think that over the past several years, we've worked really hard to move forward and become a welcoming community for everyone who lives there.
Okay, so how have you done that? You had an English-only ordinance at one point in time. Do you still have that going on? That seems a little hostile.
Actually, that was repealed in the June meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, it was.
And
yes, it was.
you know, we just want to make it easier for people who live in our community to have access to information so that they can be a part of our community.
So what do you do now that you're not in English only? Do you have things available in other languages, or is it just...
Well, actually, we did for years
Okay.
until several councils back when they passed that. And it just kind of gave a bad taste, and it went along with all the bad press with the national headlines, because I remember in the early 90s, I had moved there in 90, and I had done my student teaching in Mexico. So when I went into stores that had English and Spanish, I was thrilled because my Spanish was okay, but it wasn't that great. And I was there legally. And so I thought it was really neat when I came to Herndon and saw English and Spanish in a lot of the stores. And then one of the previous councils in the 90s started putting things out so that people knew how to put their trash out. So they didn't get knocks on the door and say, you really are supposed to put your trash in a container, not put bags out on the street. So just those type of things.
Well, you know, Herndon's just like the rest of Northern Virginia. You know, we're hugely diverse. We have people from all over the world. And what we've really tried to focus on over the past 4 years is really getting ready for Metro Rail, making sure that we have a safe and vibrant community. We're looking at enhancing our downtown and lighting the W&OD trail. And we're really trying to focus on all the wonderful things that bring people to Herndon because they can have that sort of small town feel in the midst of the Northern Virginia sprawl. So you kind of have the best of both worlds.
So what is it about Herndon then? So it's supposedly the best place to raise kids. Why? I mean, when I think of Herndon, I think of that area right where your council meetings are. Frankly, I'll confess I know it is where Jimmy's Tavern is, okay? But, so it's right that little area. But Herndon is much bigger, and you've got regular neighborhoods, and it's a much bigger kind of community than what people think of as Herndon, sort of the downtown area, right?
Well, one thing I think makes Herndon such a great place for families and children and single people to live and retired people is the fact that we have a huge number of people that like to volunteer. I'm a member of the Drainesville District, which is Herndon, people outside the town of Herndon, McLean, and Great Falls. And I was appointed to numerous boards and commissions over the years simply because the supervisors were always saying, man, I love these Herndon people. They're willing to roll their sleeves up and work. So we have that in Herndon.
So how would people then get involved? If you've got somebody who's either been in Herndon a long time or is a new resident, is there a way to get involved these days in the town itself?
Well, we have a lot of clubs and organizations. Sheila is a member of the Herndon Rotary, who does a lot of wonderful literacy activities. We have the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which all you have to do is sign up, and a free book every month comes to your doorstep for children from birth until age 5. And actually, my daughter was the first child to be signed up on the day she was born. And my reading teacher, history, you know, that really speaks to me. So that's one of the organizations. We have Sister Cities, the Council for the Arts. Art Space is a community-run art gallery in the downtown.
Friends of Runnymede, if you're into nature.
Exactly. And
Optimist Club.
you know, every April we have a Mayor's Volunteer Appreciation Banquet, and last year we recognized more than 400 volunteers who had given more than 100 hours of community service to the town. So for a 4 square mile town, that's really impressive.
That is impressive.
Well,
That's
we have to confess, some of those volunteers don't actually live in town. Maybe over the years they did, but the person that ran our homecoming parade and the Herndon Festival for us, huge responsibility, and he's done that for years, lives right outside of town. I think at one time he did live in town. And then our friend Les Seidel, he ended up moving out of town. He had been on the planning commission, but he continued to volunteer, and now he's back.
Well, you just bring him back in and bring him back in.
Well, he moved into Harbor House, our senior center, which is Fairfax County.
Right. So do you know about Harbor House?
I don't know about Harbor House.
It's a partnership between and Sheila can probably speak better to this than I can. It's a partnership between Fairfax County and the town of Herndon. It's seniors, it's adjacent to the senior center, so that it's apartment living for seniors right down by the bike trail. It's adjacent to the senior center where people come from all over the county. Fast tram buses are up and down the street all day, bringing people into the great activities that we have to offer.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, lots going on.
Well, let's talk about something big that's coming on, because in the big news over the summer, of course, was the final opening of phase 1 of the Silver Line that opened in July. And it was something in my mind of a miracle, because we kept thinking it was opening and then it didn't, and then it was going to, and then it didn't. Now it's open. And of course there was stations in Tysons, and there's one out in Reston. And in all of the articles I talked about, this is a major development, this is going to be great. Herndon is in phase 2. And my recollection is we are talking years before that's supposed to happen. You've got 3, 4, 5 years to go. I mean, when do you expect to see the subway actually show up in Herndon?
Well, we just had a briefing this past week from the Metro officials about the phasing and the timeline for the building. It's supposed to open in 2018, so we're hopeful that will stay fairly on track. No pun intended. Sheila's been involved with the planning of Metro since the early 2000s, when some of the first task forces when we were planning years and years ago. Herndon, I think, is being very bold with our metro station area. We've rezoned the land. We've also passed a master plan for our metro station area. It's only 38 acres. It's right adjacent the toll road, and it will be a high-density urban, walkable urban area for families and businesses alike. So,
well, let me ask you the burning question for those of us in this part of the Silver Line development. The fact that there are no parking lots, except I guess at Wheelie, people, I have to tell you, in the last 2 weeks since it's been open, have been complaining up a storm. Is there parking? Is there even a drop, kiss and ride thing? Because I was told there weren't any at these stations. I mean, have you planned? What's the planning on that? Are you expecting everybody to take buses like they supposedly will do for the phase 1?
Well, if you've been to Herndon, there is the Herndon Monroe parking ride where people take the buses now. Well, they're going to be expanding on that, and that's where people will go as a terminus to park. It was never planned for Herndon or the Reston Center to have major parking. Otherwise, we're not going to get the ridership that we want. We're trying to get people to live and work right by these metro areas so that they will use them. If we had another parking center right there, all we would be getting would be people from, say, Loudoun or other parts of Fairfax County to come park.
Okay, well, we're going to take a break, and then we are going to come back and talk some more about the Metro. We're going to talk about the bike trail, which now, as I understand, has lights, so you can use it anytime you want. We're going to talk about Herndon again. Stay with us.
This year, 28,000 Americans will be diagnosed with oral cancer. Every year, 7,000 Americans die of oral cancer.
I'm Eva Cohen, and I'm an oral cancer survivor. I didn't fit the profile. I didn't smoke or drink. I had no family history of cancer, no family history of cancer. I was 31 years old. 31 years old. I went to see my dentist about a sore in my mouth that wouldn't heal. It was oral cancer. I had to have a radical neck dissection and a portion of my tongue reconstructed. I didn't know if I was going to live or die.
I'm Surgeon General Richard Carmona. The survival rate for oral cancer is only 50%. Oral cancer can happen to anyone. If you have a sore or lesion in your mouth that doesn't heal within 2 weeks, see your dentist. Early detection is the key.
Early detection saves lives. I know.
1 in 8 Americans goes hungry. One idea helped change that. A community started a garden that blossomed into farmers markets. 1 in 6 children lives in poverty. One group of women found an answer by opening a daycare center that their neighbors could afford. Today, 36 million Americans live in poverty. But one by one, people are helping themselves and each other to change the picture of poverty to one of hope. For easy ways you can help, visit povertyusa.org.
2 words for you. Pop quiz. Ready? Name any funny movie. A drama. Name a mystery. And one more thing. Name the movie your kids saw today in science class.
Know what really matters. Know about your kid's school and know about your kid. Find out 100 ways to know more, do more.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Welcome back. This is Inside Scoop Virginia, and I'm Bettina Lawton, your host, and we are talking about the town of Herndon with Herndon's mayor, Lisa Merkel, and the senior town councilwoman, Sheila Olem. And when we left, we were talking about the metro, because Herndon is going to get the metro, the mayor tells me, in 2018 as phase 2 of the Silver Line. And we were talking parking and transit issues, and that's where we're going to come back to. So there was this park and ride at the Monroe Street station area right now. So people will be able to come up and drop people off, but it's not going to be a big parking facility, right?
Well, actually, that's on the south side of the toll road, which is outside the town of Herndon, where the Herndon Monroe Park and Ride currently is. They're actually going to double the capacity of the parking there, and the large majority of the bus service will be on that side of the toll road. Okay. On the north side, which is the Herndon area, we have a challenge because it's already built out. It's not greenfield development, and it's owned by 9 different property owners. Wow. So that, as you can imagine, has its own set of challenges. So what we're really focusing on the Herndon side is making sure that it has multimodal access, where we have some bike facilities already. Sheila, as the chair of the pedestrian bike committee, along with the rest of the council, has really been advocating for even more bike facilities. We also have been working with the Fairfax Connector. I've advocated strongly for a circulator component to the Fairfax Connector, because we get our bus service from Fairfax County, of course, because we really feel like as a 4 square mile town, we could really make it so that eventually you could live in Herndon with maybe only 1 car, maybe someday no car at all, if we had reliable service that came within a 1/4 mile of your home. And we think we can make that happen with the county's help.
That would be great, because you read these articles about what are younger professionals looking for, and they want to have that ability like they do. That's one of the reasons people tell me that Clarendon is such a vibrant community, because of that very fact. You can live there, not have to have a car. You can walk to restaurants and to the subways and to businesses, and it makes a huge difference to younger people who are looking
and
for
empty
places
nesters
to live.
As well.
Well, that is true. God knows I look at this and say, when they come take my driver's license away from me, I'd like to be able to still get out and about. But let's talk a little bit about some more of the what the plans are, because like with the bike trail, I know I had seen something that said it's now lit all the time. So is the bike trail that you currently have in Herndon just sort of a recreational thing, or does it really take you someplace you'd want to go, I guess?
Well, in this whole area, people use that as a mode of transportation to get to and from work. That's been going on for years. There are a lot of people that commute that way. And of course, you've got to get there to get on it if you don't live right next to it. And towns like Herndon are trying to make it more bike and pedestrian friendly, so that when you jump on that, you can make it to Vienna from Herndon easily. That's right. Or you can go on down to Alexandria, you can go to Purcellville and have lunch like my son does.
Well, and the W&OD trail that Sheila is talking about, Herndon's the midpoint of the W&OD trail between DC and Purcellville. It bisects our town and goes right through the middle of our downtown. So we're trying to really capitalize on that as another main street in our town, and as we work to revitalize and redevelop our downtown, keeping that small town charm that everyone has expressed an interest in, and is what drew so many of us to Herndon in the first place. We really want to capitalize on that, and we've worked with the county to make sure that our W&OD trail is also connected through another series of trails, so people can get to the metro station on foot or on their bikes.
All right, well, that sounds
And the lighting that you just brought up, the town is the first section of the W&OD trail to be lit. And we had to jump through a lot of hoops. We've got great staff in Herndon. They made sure that happened. But it starts where our recreation center is on Ferndale and goes through the downtown to Van Buren, which is close to where the Herndon post office is. So it'll be a nice stretch that can be left on until about 10, 11 o'clock
and
at
it was
night.
largely grant funded, so the taxpayers didn't foot a whole lot of the bill for it. It was proffers, and then we also, our staff that Sheila mentioned is great. We got some great grant funding, and actually the lights should be going on any minute now. They're not on quite yet, but we can't wait to cut the ribbon.
They might be on right now, and we just don't know it.
Oh, there we go. Well, that would be so exciting. That would be wonderful, actually. I hadn't really thought about the fact that the trails aren't lit, because I'm only there when the sun is up, kind of thing. So, but you're right, that would be wonderful. Let's talk about rezoning your downtown, because I did see something about a beer garden or something, an outdoor or something. Is this new?
Priorities, right?
You know, there are important things in life, and knowing where to go to have a nice evening out with friends and have a beer outside is a good thing.
Right.
So is this something you now have?
Well, there's always Friday Night Live. We have that all summer.
That's true.
But this is a new addition to Jimmy's Restaurant.
Okay.
That they're making an addition.
Right, he's expanding one of the longtime businesses next door. They retired and are thrilled to be moving on with their life, and so Jimmy's moving in next door and also building, expanding into there and starting a beer garden. And so, you know, we keep hearing from our residents and visitors that they want to be able to sit outside and have, you know, that outdoor dining experience. So we're really excited about what this will do for our downtown.
Now, are other people eligible to do that the way you've rezoned things, or was this a special zoning thing that had to get done? How does all of that work?
Well, O'Sullivan's, which is across the street from Jimmy's, they do have outdoor dining right along. But one of the problems, because Herndon is old and historic, is the sidewalks are too small for people, the restaurant owners, to be able to put the tables out there. And we certainly don't want them tearing down those nice historic buildings to make it big. But O'Sullivan's made it on the side. Jimmy's really didn't have a place in the front, visible from the street, but he will have an awesome place in the back.
And the zoning ordinance text amendment, Sheila wonky speak like that, but that we passed, if you meet the criteria throughout the town, then you would be able to participate and have it outdoor. It just gives options for our restaurants. You can't be within 100 yards of a single-family dwelling, I think. There's something like that. So we're cognizant of the neighborhood concerns, but also trying to make sure we've got that vibrancy people are looking for.
Well, that'll be great. But we've sort of talked, I mentioned Jimmy's. You've mentioned O'Sullivan's. You've got a bunch of new restaurants coming into town. You've got some Focus Dine in Herndon, Dine on Herndon, something going down. What's that all about? It's some initiative you all are running, isn't it?
It is.
The Dine On?
Dine On, yeah.
Oh, well, actually, we've been promoting our restaurants for years, and when we did raise our meals tax, that was one of the things that we put in it, that part of those funds that were being collected, would go to helping promote the local restaurants. And we've been doing a little brochure for years, so now we have a place on the web, as well as some other initiatives that are going on.
Right, in our 4 square miles, we have over 120 restaurants, most of which are locally owned and one-of-a-kind mom-and-pop type shops. We have cuisine from around the world. People don't realize that, but we really have a lot to offer. So we, as part of our rebranding initiative, one of the things that we've done is a website. It's dineonherndon.com, and it shows all of our restaurants, and you can search by cuisine, by location, whether they have Wi-Fi, all sorts of things. And we've done some advertising on the Herndon, the Fairfax Connector. We were on WTOP, so we're really trying to get people to know that, you know, we're on par with places like Clarendon with the diversity of restaurants, and people just don't always think of us in that way.
We have Restaurant Week coming up. Somebody mentioned that, so hopefully those restaurants out in Herndon are going to participate in that.
We're always looking for a way to get more people out.
All right, well, I've got to come up more, because I've gone up to some of the places, and it's really, they're nice, and it's a good type of town. Now, let me ask you about how you guys got involved, because someone mentioned to me some time ago that you see women mayors, you see women on councils, you don't see them in other positions. We don't have any statewide women, for example, in Virginia. So how did you two get involved in politics at this level?
I moved to town in '90, and I've just been very involved on land use issues. The first one had to do, I lived in the town, but the development was in the county, so I had to go down and battle the elephant down at Fairfax County. And you can really do things in your town if you will pay attention and see what's going on. If you want to have a hand in how your town, how it is, how it treats people, how it develops. Right. And I just think being involved in the town is great. I live there. I want to have something, especially if it's not too good, and it wasn't for a while. And you know, I do And volunteering over the years for different committees to serve on representing our town was where I started. And then things, needed a change on the council, and people like myself and Lisa, thank goodness, because we are, I think, thought of much better. And so we have had up to 5 women at one time on the council, which they never had more than 2 on the council up until 2008.
How big is your council?
We have 7 people.
Wow.
And we now have 4 women on the council,
6
including the
council
mayor.
members and a mayor.
Wow. So the majority of the council is now women, so the town is being run by women.
So
very
that's gone
interesting.
on for the last 3
Several
terms.
years, yeah.
That the majority
So,
were women.
When I moved into my house in downtown Herndon back in 2002, if you'd ever told me I would be the mayor, I would have just laughed. It never crossed my mind. But I always say to people, I'm not in love with politics, but I am in love with Herndon. And I really got involved because, as you at the top of the show said, there was kind of a time in Herndon where the news wasn't so good, and I was at home with a newborn baby, loving where I lived, and having friends call me from around the country saying, where do you live? I thought you loved it there. And I thought, this isn't what Herndon is really about. And so I decided to get involved and ran for council, and you just never know where life may take you.
Well, that would be true. So are there, if somebody out there says, I would really like to get involved as well, is there some place on your website that says if you want to serve on a town board or commission? How easy is it for someone to sort of raise their hand and say, I want to do something like that?
Well, they do need to fill out the form that says you want to be involved in the town activities, and that's called our talent bank. And yes, we are constantly trying to recruit people to apply for positions as they come up either on the Planning Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals, the PBAC committee, and I know I'm the chair of the PBAC committee, but...
Tell me what PBAC is.
Okay.
Is that the pedestrian one?
bicycle committee.
Okay.
Pedestrian bicycle, I'm sorry. And
we're those people with acronyms now, Sheila.
Yes.
So when I first got on there, everyone was pretty much a biker, and so I'm now very happy to say that we have people that bike, people that walk, and we have one person who's visually impaired. So she's really given us a lot of insight of what we need to be working on with our sidewalks. Because can you imagine, we want it to be walkable and you've got a walker?
And another thing that I think has really changed, social media has made it really easy to get involved. I have a mayor Facebook page where I know that people write to me and ask me questions or ask how they can get involved, where they wouldn't probably take the time to write a formal letter or an email. And so I think we're a lot more approachable and accessible than we once were, and I think that's a good thing.
That's excellent. Well, I want to thank you both for coming down. I know you fortunately it's August, so hopefully the traffic wasn't too horrendous getting all the way down here from Herndon. But it sounds like exciting things are going on in the town. I will come up, I will try and make sure I get to a good portion of those restaurants you were talking about. So stay with us. We're going to come back with Vienna.
Some dreams are universal. Dreams that inspire us. Multiple sclerosis is a devastating disease that changes lives forever. The National MS Society does more for people with MS than any organization in the world. But we can't do it alone. To get involved, visit us online at nationalmssociety.org or call 1-800-FIGHT-MS. This is why we're here. Because nobody dreams of having multiple sclerosis.
What's wrong with this picture? Half of young Americans can't locate economic powers like Japan and India. 20% can't even find the Pacific Ocean. Without geography, our children aren't ready for the world. Geography is everywhere. It's incredible creatures, rhythm, fashion, flavor. It's economics and politics. It's change. Understanding connections between people and places is critical in the 21st century. That's why we created mywonderfulworld.org. Go there now for your free parent and teacher action kits and give our kids the power of global knowledge. Because kids who understand our world today can succeed in it tomorrow.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Welcome back. This is Inside Scoop Virginia. I'm Bettina Lawton, your host. And tonight we are talking about the towns in Fairfax County. Two of the best towns, Herndon and Vienna. And we have switched over to our Vienna folks. And so we're going to introduce them. Now, as I understand it, Vienna was founded in 1890. It is 4.4 square miles, so it's just a little tiny bit bigger than Herndon is. But it's got a lot less population. It's only got about 16,000 people in it. So it's the same size. I guess it must be less dense. Demographically, it's 75% white, 12% Asian, 3% black. And we have with us the new mayor, Laurie DiRocco. She was first elected to the town council in 2009. She was just elected to her first term as mayor. And we're very excited to have her here. Prior to that, she was chair of the Town of Vienna Planning Commission, which is great because we want to talk about what they're doing in Vienna. She was vice chair of the Transportation Safety Commission. She's a former adjunct professor at George Mason University School of Management. She has served as treasurer of the Marshall Road Elementary School PTA. She's currently a member of the James Madison High School PTSA, which, if she really plays her cards right, maybe she could become the president, because, you know, I used to be the president, and then our other guest, Edythe Kelleher, was the president. So it's really the way to go. Okay. She also serves on the Hunter Mill Land Use Committee, the Hunter Mill Citizens Budget Committee, the VML Community and Economic Development Committee. She received her Bachelor of Science degree in Business and Finance from Virginia Tech and a Master's of Business Administration from George Washington University. So, Mayor, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
We are glad to have you on your maiden voyage here. We also have with us Edythe Kelleher, who is the Vice Mayor. She was first elected to the Town Council in 2002, and she has been reelected every 2 years since then. She previously served on the Community Enhancement Commission. She served on the staff of Fairfax County Supervisor Penny Gross's office. She's the former chairman of the Hunter Mill Land Use Advisory Committee, the Virginia Municipal League Finance Committee, and she's currently a member of the Virginia Municipal League Executive Board. She's a member of the Friends of Vienna Town Green, the Vienna Host Lions Club, the American Legion Auxiliary, and a lot of other community organizations. I see her everywhere. She received her bachelor's degree from Johns Hopkins University and a Master of Business Administration from George Washington University as well. Were you in the same classes?
No, we weren't.
Different times?
No,
okay, but it's such a coincidence that you both
have
your master's degree.
Maybe
from
we were
George
passing on the street and we didn't even realize it. So
See,
funny.
Life is funny
Small
that way.
world.
It is definitely
And it feels that way
world.
into the town many times. Small world.
Well, and that's, you know, the thing with Vienna, because I always say to folks, I'm one of those who has a Vienna address, but I live in the unincorporated portion of Fairfax County. So, but I go into Vienna, and it's amazing the number of times you're in Vienna and you will see people that you know.
Oh, yeah.
It's it is really a very small town.
It is a small town, and it's a nice community, which makes it even better.
Well, and you have also won a bunch of these best ofs.
Yes.
So you've got, you know, best high schools with James Madison was ranked as number 3. You've been, you know, the best places to live, the best places for job seekers, the best. How does that happen? This is a little town in the suburbs of Washington. How do you win all of these great awards?
You know, I'm not really sure because we don't go out and solicit for them. So,
all right. That's good to know. I had no idea.
We don't. So I'm not sure how we do. I think we do because we really are a great community. I mean, there's a couple things. I think there's many things that are really good about Vienna, but there's a few things that I think stick out. One of the things is we have amazing volunteers. We really do. We have people who give a great deal of time and energy into the community. They may serve in community organizations, PTA boards, service organizations, donations, but they give a lot of time and energy. I think we also have a great number, actually about 5 community events every year that are big events that the community just loves. We have Viva Vienna, which you probably are familiar with, over Memorial Day weekend.
Right.
We have 4th of July fireworks. We have Oktoberfest and the Halloween Parade, which is in October. And the Halloween Parade is wonderful because we shut down Maple Avenue, which people always are amazed by.
Annoyed would be the word I would use. The first time.
We're amazed. I guess town of Vienna is amazed.
You
Maybe
are.
some- yeah.
I mean, because I will tell you, the first time that I realized you were shutting down a major thoroughfare for the Halloween parade, all I could think to myself was, who are these people? Well, I mean, people don't do that.
No,
but Vienna does.
But we do it every year, and I have to say, it's really fun walking down Maple Avenue and waving to your friends and neighbors and residents. You know, so it's really a great tradition. We also have the Church Street Stroll, which is in December.
Oh, I don't know what that one is.
Yeah, we have Santa come, and we have roasting marshmallows and just different town events right before the holidays. And then we also have First Night, which is actually a new event. Last year was our first night, if you would say it that way. And it was something that was thought of by residents and small business owners, and they kind of put it together, and it was wildly successful. And
now,
so,
is this like December 31st?
Yeah,
is that what this is?
Right, so this is New Year's Eve celebration, and it's really town and family focused, so there's lots of events for children, lots of bands and music, and it, as I said, was really successful, and so we're going to do it again this year.
Now, can anybody come? Those of us who live in the unincorporated portion of it.
Absolutely, everyone is invited. Certainly residents come, and the greater Vienna area can come, as well as whoever would like to join us, so they're open to everyone. So those events take a lot of volunteers, and so those events happen and are great activities in the town and are really fun activities for the community because of the volunteers that give of their time and energy. So
now, is being mayor a full-time job?
You know, it's interesting you asked me that, because I've had a number of people ask me that.
Well, I'm listening to all these great events, and I'm
yes.
Wow.
So it really is. I mean, it's not a 9 to 5 type of job, but it is a full-time job in the sense of I have regular office hours, and I made a point of wanting to do that because I'd like to be able to have people who can come in and just talk to the mayor whenever they'd like to. So I have regular office hours in the afternoon every day, but I really am in the office at various points in time for meetings, and then there's lots of evening activities that we do, as well as we have our Monday meetings for the town council every Monday.
Well, I know, because I've been trying for years to get Edith on the show,
Oh,
and,
really?
and there has always been a town council meeting whenever I've said, Edith, how about coming on over? So
Sure.
Summer break. Well,
Sure.
I'm glad to finally have you after all of these attempts to get you to come on. And now, council and vice mayor. I mean, I know those are not full-time positions, right?
No.
They take a lot of time, but they're not full-time at all. And vice mayor is something we rotate amongst ourselves. So this year it was my turn. So it runs from July 1st to June 30th. And I've done it before. And this was my turn again this time. And if Laurie couldn't make a certain meeting, or she couldn't go to a pancake breakfast or something like that, she would ask me to stand in for her at that time.
And so that's the difference between council member responsibilities and the vice mayor responsibilities.
Pretty much.
Is that the standing in
I think you're a figurehead for the town, certainly, but we all have equal vote. You know, there's 7 people, part of our council, mayor and 6 council members, and we all have equal vote on that. And it's not that the mayor breaks any ties or anything like that. We all vote on each issue, whatever it may be.
Yeah, unlike the city of Fairfax, the city of Fairfax has a so-called weak mayor, and we have a strong mayor, where not only is our mayor chairing the meetings and has input into the agenda, but she also votes.
Yeah, that is unusual. I had always assumed the mayor only broke ties.
Yeah,
I didn't realize there could be a distinction like that.
Yeah, it's depending on how the town or municipality sets up their system, their charter.
Oh, interesting. Well, let's talk about how each of you became interested in being involved in the town council in Vienna, because it's a nonpartisan. I guess all the town elections are nonpartisan. So what got you all involved in doing this?
Sure. For me, when I first moved to town in 1996. Actually, not long after that, the late Mayor Jane Seaman came to my door and knocked on the door. And I thought, how great is it that people that are running for office here in the town come and knock on doors? And I thought that was wonderful. And that started getting me thinking. And then I also would see the mayor. I attended the same church as she did. And so I talked to her about getting involved, and she said, well, fill out an application. We have an application process for boards and commissions. And so I said, that sounds great. So I filled one out. I served on the Transportation Safety Board. I got involved a little more in that. And then the council actually called and said, would you be willing to serve on the Planning Commission? And I thought that sounds wonderful. I didn't have per se any, my background has all been financial. It has not been in land use or zoning. And I thought that would be interesting. I'd like to get more involved. And so being on the Planning Commission, you really learn about land use, the comprehensive plan, how our town functions. So I really enjoyed that a great deal. And then in 2009, when Mon Robinson decided to retire, I thought, you know what, I'm going to run for council. I think this would be a really great way to continue my community service and get involved. So it just kind of evolved since that point. And then for mayor, it wasn't something that I thought of or planned or thought of when I was younger, but when Mayor Seaman decided that she did not want to run anymore, she had talked to me and we thought, okay, you know, I'll consider this, and talked to my family and thought it would be a great thing to do. So.
And the rest of us twisted her arm as well.
Yeah. Okay, well, good.
So yeah, and I really, the one nice thing I would say about the town is being nonpartisan. It really makes for a good discussion. You know, I love the fact that we can debate topics, and it really doesn't fall along party lines. It just falls in what is best for the town and how do we look at the town as a whole and do what's best for it.
Oh, excellent. Well, Edythe, how did you get involved?
Well, Bettina, I'd always been interested in government, I think even since I was in high school, although I never ran for student government or anything, and I worked for other candidates. And as you mentioned in my biography, I worked on the staff of Supervisor Penny Gross. And so when an opportunity came to run for town council in Vienna, which is where I was living at the time, I moved in 1994, I decided I would go ahead and go for it and serve my community that way. I have 3 sons, so they were very young at the time, and I thought this was kind of a great lesson for them on what you do and how you serve your community and how you give back. I too had served on the Community Enhancement Commission, although we called it the Beautification Commission back then. It's changed a little bit. And I'd served on other committees and with the PTAs and everything else. So I was a real volunteer, and I became an Uber volunteer, I guess.
Well, I do remember twisting your arm to succeed me as president of the Madison PTSA. And the miracle thing, quite frankly, is that she still speaks to me.
There you go, and you're still friends, right?
We're still friends. I mean, I don't know how that happened.
That worked out well.
She's a marvelous woman. Clearly, forgiving me for that.
I think that's how it works for PTAs. I think that's how you find your successor.
Yeah, I think it is too. So, what now? Vienna has had a subway for a long time, because obviously that's the end of the Orange Line.
Right.
So you've sort of dealt with that, but now we've got the Silver Line opening sort of on the other side of Vienna. And we're going to be going for a break in just a couple of seconds here, but I wanted to sort of start that conversation of what kind of impact is the Silver Line having on the town?
It's kind of a mixed impact. I think the original Vienna metro station, there was a concern that it would be too much development there. And it's worked out fairly well, I think. People are happy with it. The Silver Line may take some riders away from Vienna, which would be a good thing. I think people could have better seats than that would be true.
Well, I want to hold that thought, because we're going to break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk some more about the Silver Line.
I helped turn my child's public school into a whole new kind of school. One with a curriculum that really motivates kids. One that has extended hours, 6 days a week, year-round. With loads of academic, cultural, and recreational activities. One that has support services like medical and dental right there. A school where parents' involvement is encouraged, where teachers have more time to teach, and students are excited about learning. There's just one problem. My child doesn't ever want to come home. You can help turn your school into a community school for excellence. Find out how Call 1-877-LOVE-TO-LEARN.
It's coming right to your neighborhood. And when it does, you may be surprised. It's your Social Security statement of your benefits, and it's going to help you plan your financial future. Your benefit statement will tell you how much Social Security you're eligible to receive and when you'll get it. Then you'll know how much you need to save for retirement, because that's coming too. The future is in your hands. Choose to save.
The toxic fumes from this meth lab are seeping into Jamie's sinus cavity. Ammonia vapors invade her throat. Toxic gases fill her lungs. Jamie's body is deteriorating. And she doesn't even know it.
Jamie, dinner.
So, who has the drug problem now? Find out how meth affects you at drugfree.org/.
Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Welcome back to Inside Scoop Virginia. I'm Bettina Lawton. I'm your host. And tonight we are talking about towns, and we are now talking about Vienna, the town of Vienna. We have Mayor DiRocco with us and Vice Mayor Edythe Kelleher with us. And when we left, we were talking about the Silver Line and the impact that it may have on the town of Vienna, since it's right on the outside, sort of Tyson's side of Vienna. And you were talking, Edythe, when we left about it might pull some ridership off of the Orange Line, which I agree with you would be a good thing, because it seems you're standing a lot on the Orange Line. But how are we going to deal with it? Supposedly they're going to be this massive development in Tyson's right outside your borders with hundreds of thousands of new residents and jobs, and what kind of impact is that going to have on the town, do you think?
Sure. We've been very concerned about that for many, many years, obviously. The hope is that with the Metro line there, that it will help some Vienna people get better access to the public transit. The development in Tyson's, we are very concerned about the traffic especially. That Vienna residents can access whatever is happening in Tyson's in terms of getting jobs there and whatnot. Of course, that'll be a plus for the town of Vienna because we're mainly a bedroom community. But I think we're very concerned mostly about the traffic impact and how that's going to play out over the years.
Well, I would think so, because 123 runs straight down through Vienna and into Tyson's, and I have to tell you, right now there are parts of the day where I will not go because I'm not going to try and deal with 123. So I've got to think that anything that exacerbates the traffic on that road is a definite bad thing for Vienna, because people will try and start to go around the town to avoid that.
And that's what we want to avoid. We don't want people going into the neighborhoods. We want the traffic to flow as best it can along Maple Avenue. And so timing of lights is important. Maple Avenue also has a lot of curb cuts. And so hopefully with some of the we could possibly close some of those curb cuts if there's redevelopment.
And what is a curb cut?
A curb cut is an access way in or out
commercial entrance.
A commercial entrance, yeah.
Oh, okay. So traffic going in and out, and the turning movements is interfering with the flow of the traffic.
Right. Well, that is true.
Right. So if people are
that.
turning off, and there's numerous places where people can turn off and turn back on to Maple Avenue, that just slows down the traffic.
Right.
And so some of the goals, I think, for us as a council to improve traffic along Maple Avenue is to look at possibly closing curb cuts, and there's ways to do that, as well as timing of lights to make sure it flows. And there's definitely a pattern, people going into Tyson's in the morning and then coming out from Tyson's in the afternoon. And I think Fairfax County gave us this statistic that like 54% of people go from one end of Maple Avenue completely through to the other. So that's their commuting path. Yeah.
So is this Maple Avenue Commercial Zoning District? I read about that. Don't really know what it is. Is that going to help with the traffic flow, or is that something totally different?
Sure. I think it will help with the traffic flow. I mean, Maple Avenue corridor is an ordinance that's an optional ordinance. Currently, our current commercial zoning ordinances date back to the 1960s. They've been around a long time. They were in place when really strip malls were kind of the main type of commercial entities. And so the MAC ordinance is looking to update it, make it a little more, update our ordinances. But like I said, it's voluntary. Commercial developers can choose to work under our current ordinances or go into the MAC. And under the MAC, there are ways to hopefully improve traffic, and one of them is asking people to close curb cuts.
Well, one of the things that I wondered about, because I was sort of reading the history on your website about these things, and when I realized that the current ordinances were like 1962, for heaven's sakes, and then this whole sort of process started years ago. I mean, I mean, you've been around the entire time. What has taken so long? I mean, there was a huge. It seemed like there was this big dead years in the middle of the early 2000s, and is it something inherent to Vienna that you just don't change?
Well, you know the old light bulb joke about how many Virginians it takes, but I think that we've been cautious in Vienna, and I think that we want to be careful with our quality of life and our small town feel. We have great appeal. We have a lot of people who really want to invest in the town of Vienna. They're tearing down the small houses and building houses that are $1.3, $1.4 million on a quarter-acre property in Vienna. People are not spending that kind of money because it's not a good place. They want to come. So we're very cautious. I've recently discovered that these efforts go back even farther than what's on our website. There was a study, a group of citizens that started in 1982 and issued a report in 1984 where they talked about mixed-use zoning. They talked about closing curb cuts and improving traffic flow. They talked about revitalization. And one of the things they mentioned, one of the priorities was Church Street. And Church Street, the zoning there was changed in about 1998. So that only took, 14 years. So around the time I came on the council, we started with a Maple Avenue Vision Committee and different studies over the years. So that's taken about a dozen years to work through the process. But we've involved the citizens, we've involved the business community, and we're really kind of coming to the end, I hope, where we will adopt an ordinance.
And you have a public hearing coming up a week from today, right?
Yes.
Okay. At the town council, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock at Town Hall, correct?
Okay.
And it's a public hearing, so all residents can come and give feedback or ask questions
I saw
about
a very
the MAC
bizarre
ordinance.
flyer about that said something about 1,000 new parking spaces, and I thought, where in the world are you putting 1,000 parking spaces? Is that like someone's delusion, or what did I miss? I didn't see it anyplace else except on this flyer.
Sure. Well, the MAC ordinance is truly just changing commercial zoning ordinances. There's no proposal at all. So there is no proposal for 1,000 new parking spaces. But basically the MAC ordinance, if you apply to be part of that, there is actually a more stringent process that needs to be gone through by a developer than under our current zoning ordinances, which many are by right. So that will, and one of the processes is also to probably do a traffic management study to see how things will affect the area. So I think that's a positive thing
So
with the MAC ordinance.
you're looking at taller buildings? Is that what you're looking at?
Somewhat. Right now we allow up to 3 stories, although we also limit to 35 feet in height, which nowadays it's very difficult to build a 3-story commercial building in 35 feet. So we're looking to go to 4 stories, but 54 feet, which the town of Herndon also has a 54-foot height limit. So we're adding 1 more story. And the interesting thing is, back in 1984, the group that looked at it, they were told by the council at the time, we want to keep our 35-foot height limit, our 3 stories, and they recommended the 4th story 30 years ago. They recommended a 4th story. So this is not a new idea in Vienna, but the idea that is new is the mixed use. Zonings have traditionally been separated, so you want to have your residential over here, your commercial here, and your industrial way over there. And that's going away. The newer method is to mix the uses and have retail maybe ground level and have residents above. And the thought is that not only would that provide more customers for the businesses, the ones that are in the new developments as well as the ones that are existing today, but also it would provide for other housing styles in Vienna. We are primarily a single-family detached community. We have a lot of aging population that would like to move into something that's more modern, that is on one level.
Right. Oh, I would love to. I will tell you, less
So we'll get you as a resident?
You might, I tell you. Get me into town on one level with a nice yard. But we'd have to talk about deer because, you and I, we've had these conversations about deer problems. But I think now the mixed use thing though, but Vienna, in order to implement that along Maple Avenue, you have a lot of really old existing buildings there. Are these going to come down, or is this like, if you remember at George Washington University where you got your master's degrees, they kept the facades of all the buildings and put the big taller buildings behind them, so the street scene stayed the same, and you didn't realize there was actually office buildings behind the facades. How do you implement this kind of, suddenly it's taller, it's another story, when you've got all of these old existing, very one-story buildings there?
Sure, and it would be something that's voluntary based on the commercial owned property owner. They would decide if they wanted to redevelop. So it's something that, this is a long-term plan. I mean, it's something that's going to be implemented over years. And really the Maple Avenue vision is something to think about long-term. In 20 years, what do we want Maple Avenue to look like? Do we want the shopping center to be set back with big spaces for parking and then a street? Or do we want business buildings to be closer to the road, a nice bigger sidewalk with parking in the back? And so for that additional floor of height, we are asking for things that the town might desire, such as outdoor seating, more green space, bicycle parking, energy efficiencies, those types of things. Those are things that perhaps the community would like, and closing curb cuts, shared parking, all of that type of thing.
Well, it would be nice. I mean, the mayors in Herndon was talking about their sidewalk, and a couple of weeks ago when we had that beautiful spring weather in the middle of July, a friend was like, why don't we go someplace and sit outside and have a glass of wine? And I said, where would we do that? We ended up going to Fairfax City because we didn't think of a place in Vienna.
Well, Whole Foods is adding an outdoor seating area that's fenced off, and they've gone for an ABC permit to have that as an area. It's right off their beer and wine bar area. And Mrs. Green's, the new store coming in, also wants to have an outdoor seating area. I don't know if it's going to be eligible, if they're applying for beer and wine there. But I know Whole Foods is coming.
Oh, that would be very nice.
Basins next door has an outdoor seating area. So there's basins and there's basins next door, and that has a nice outside seating area to have dinner and a glass of wine if you wanted to.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Tequila Grande also is another one that's close to you.
That's right. They do. Yeah. They've got those. I never think of them because it's like I'm always going the back ways to avoid 123. I don't see them. That's right. Oh, all right. Good. So this, and it's all voluntary, as you say. This redevelopment. So people are not going to be forced into doing things. It's really just the business people decide.
Right. It's business people decide, and then if they want the extra floor, these are the things that the town desires. So it's an option.
And they would have to come through a rezoning process. So that means more public hearings and more citizen input into all the plans.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking one of your free nights in August to come and talk with us. This has been most informative, and hopefully people will continue to look at ways that the town can retain its characters and move forward, because God knows this has been going on for a long time. I want to thank everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.